Welcome to Subnautica Below Zero. In this video we are going through my first impressions for the game. I played a little over an hour of it, and I also played maybe a few hours here and there of the original Subnautica game, so I don't have the most experience from that game, so I'm basically a fresh face kind of thing, if you want to call it that. So I jumped into this game. You're going to start by dropping into this world by following a meteor. I initially thought that was a very bad idea. You jump out your drop pod, you are going to have to start moving around, and you've got to be quick about it because your temperature is going to drop. You have to find some water and then make your way to your, basically your underwater base, your little drop pod under there, your sea pod, or whatever you want to call it. Upon landing in the game world, I did think the gameplay graphics are actually quite good. The game is not a full-on AAA game, so I didn't expect it to be really out there and next-gen graphics. This is first impressions for console. I'm playing on the Series X. This game has been out for a little while on the PC, but it is new on the console market. On Xbox, I paid £30 for it, and I jumped in a little bit confused because in the original Subnautica, you are underwater pretty much the entire time. However, in this game, you actually start on this ice-based sort of bit of land. It's a very weird sort of part of the planet that you're on. So you make it to the water, you make your way over to your pod, you are introduced to the fabricator and a storage box. That's where I didn't feel as though the game was going to be amazing, just because within my first hour, it's pretty much just, from what I feel, it's Subnautica, the normal one, just with a different story and a different setting. There are a lot, most of the assets I've seen are exactly the same as the original game. And this game will cost you exactly the same amount of money as the original Subnautica. But I carried on, I thought I'd give it a go, and I did enjoy it, so it's not that it's a bad game. I did a little bit of roaming around and swimming around, and I found this supply cache. There was a few different supply boxes I could open. Got myself a couple of nutrient blocks, and also got myself a first aid kit, because this game is all about survival. There are several ways to play the game. You can play hardcore, you can play so it's creative, you're literally just building and stuff. There's no restrictions or anything like that. You will also have a freedom mode, which is the same as survival, but without your hunger and thirst meters. And then you will have your typical survival. You have health, you have oxygen, you have your temperature, you have hunger and thirst. That's the mode I decided to play because that's what Subnautica is. I felt I might as well play to have the best experience of the game possible. So I started off, I was using my crafting tab to have a look at different things I could craft. You've got your knife, you've got a scanner, because there are a lot of things in this underwater environment, and it's just interesting to go around scanning it all. You get an idea of what this sort of stuff is. You basically get lore and a background to it, whether it's plants, fish, all these different creatures and stuff. There is a lot of crafting you can do, from even cooking up fish. You can cook bladder fish so that you can basically get water from it. And then there are other fish as well. You can eat them as they start deteriorating, their condition starts getting worse. They get old and then they end up rotting. If you eat them whilst they're fresh, you're going to gain a little bit of water and you'll get a lot of food. Whereas if it's starting to rot, you're going to actually lose water levels and your food is going to increase at a much slower sort of rate. The sound in this game, if you play with headphones, can be terrifying depending on what you are doing. It's one of those games that if you have sound on and you've got it quite high, you kind of get dragged into the atmosphere. So if you're in a nice chill area with a load of fish that aren't going to attack you, it's going to be nice and chill. Whereas if you're deep underwater, there's a load of bad creatures, you'll hear these sounds and they will be loud in your ears and they will start to spook you. You'll be looking around and wondering where you're going to have your face bitten off from next. In my first hour, I did come across a brute shark. The thing turned around, tried nibbling on my cheeks, and I actually shit myself a little bit. Started panicking just because of the speed it turned around. I also, in this game, come across a sea monkey. This sea monkey decided to steal my knife. So I had to go back to my pod, craft another one. So there's a lot of things that can set you back in this game. I don't know what else these sea monkeys can steal from you. As soon as I lost my knife and realised that I had lost it, crafted another one, whenever I saw a sea monkey, I went the other way. The gameplay itself is fantastic, the game runs smooth, there's a lot of exploration, and I think if this is your sort of game, you're not there just to rush through the story and get it done. I think you can get a lot of hours out of it. The one thing I wish they did with this game, or at least with the original Subnautica, is multiplayer, because this is single player only. There are a lot of things that will help you out, as well as the creatures and things that will set you back. You have a depth gauge, so you can kind of figure out how quickly you're losing oxygen, and you can figure out how long you'll need, like how much oxygen you'll need to have left when you're at a certain depth in order to make it back to the surface. Because if you run out of oxygen, you're under the water, that's pretty much game over. You're going to start to fade to black and pass out, and that's essentially a death. Also, another thing they do, a really cool feature I like about it, is when you get to a certain depth, like 100 meters, 200 meters, it will start decreasing your oxygen at a faster rate because you're a lot deeper down. And then one of the coolest things that I saw in this game was I went to the surface, found this little sort of base thing I could stand on, and there are creatures in this game called penguins, which are pretty much penguins, and they actually come up, they surface from the water, and they're walking around. They have the babies, the adults, they're just little cute creatures that you will see. So the attention to detail in this game is phenomenal. There are things in this game that will help you move around faster too. I've found fragments to the Sea Glide, which is, if it's exactly the same as Subnautica, it's basically this little propelled thing in front of you, like you hold it in front of you and it just helps you move through the water faster. You can also craft some fins, you can get an oxygen tank. When your stuff starts losing its durability, there's a repair tool. There's a lot of depth to this game. The game is very vibrant and colourful, sometimes to the point of it actually hurting your eyes, but most times it's very pleasing to look at. To give an example of it hurting your eyes, I came out of my little pod, looked up, the entire surface of the water was orange. I approached the surface, popped my head out, and the entire game world had gone from blue to orange. The colours are so strong in this game, it actually hurt my eyes, but most of the time that's not going to happen. It's a very easy to get the hang of game thanks to the PDA, which is a system you can use to check logs. You can sort your inventory, you can check your crafting requirements for certain things, and you can even listen to some audio files to pick up on the story. This game will not hold your hand, there won't be any set quests all the time, as it's a survival exploration game, but there are markers on your screen that will guide you back to your pod for an example, which would definitely come in handy. So overall, I think this game is quite cool. However, if you have played the original Subnautica, I don't think you're going to have too much fun with this, just because it feels very, very similar. Obviously, this is first impressions, I've only played the first hour, I can't tell you how this story is going to play out or anything like that, and personally, I don't think I will actually complete this game ever, because I do believe you can complete the story. I don't even know if it will get much playtime from me, just because I've never been the biggest fan of survival stuff, and I feel I've experienced a lot of this game already just by playing the first game. Again, I'm going to bring it up, I really feel Subnautica should have at some point released multiplayer, whether it was a standalone game or not. But that's my first impressions for Subnautica Below Zero. I would recommend this game. It's fun, it's challenging, it can be scary, it's a lot of exploration, survival mechanics to it. There is a lot of good to come from it. My first hour, not a single issue with the game. However, my personal opinion, I believe it could be a little bit cheaper. Just purely based on the fact that I feel this could have more than likely been a DLC for Subnautica rather than a full-on standalone game. But that's my thoughts, my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed it.